screen, but I'm assuming she's there. Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting of the TRPA Operations and Governance Committee to order. The date is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, and the time is about 8:50. First item on the agenda is the roll call to determine a quorum. Maria?
Ms. Aldine,
Here.
Mr. Aguilar, Ms. Dis,
Here.
Mr. Honigman,
Here.
Ms. Lane.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we will then go over the remote and in-person meeting rules for the day. For members of the public who are joining us remotely to observe the meeting, go to trpa.gov under the gov. Easier for me to say. Under the calendar heading, click on Governing Board Hybrid Meeting for November 15th, 2023. There you will find a link to the public webinar hosted on Zoom. To address committee members directly with your comments, raise your hand in Zoom by clicking Raise Hand at the bottom of your screen at the appropriate agenda item. With your hand raised, you will be unmuted by TRPA staff and have 3 minutes to address the committee. If you have used the dial-in numbers to join us by telephone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand and be unmuted. For items that are agendized as informational only, we will hear public comment during the general public comment period at the end of the meeting. For items agendized for action or possible action, we will hear public comment before the committee takes any action. To remote committee members, and we have two. Good morning, Francisco. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you wish to speak, you can also now raise your hand in Zoom. You'll find the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Remote committee members may not use the chat box to make any comments or to have sidebar conversations. Please, everyone, remember to mute your mic unless speaking to cut down on background noise. Finally, I would like to ask that all remote members turn on their cameras. I understand that Jessica is en route, so she should be joining us hopefully before the conclusion of this meeting. And members of the public who have joined us in person, please raise your hand at the appropriate time for public comment, and you'll be called on to the front to speak. Committee members who are in person, please raise your hand or yell at me from across the room, and you will be acknowledged in one way or another. Little levity is important once in a while. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Our agenda is thankfully very short today. Then we will deem the agenda approved as posted. We are now on agenda item number 2, approval of the minutes. We have a draft set of minutes from October 25th, 2023 on page 7 of your packets. Does any member wish to make any changes? All right, I'm not seeing any. All right. And amazingly enough, I have none either. So I'll entertain a motion.
What? Wait.
I may have dozed off while reading them. I don't know.
Did lightning just strike?
Well done. Well done. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as posted.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Francisco? Aye. Okay. Let the record show that, yes, there he is. Okay. Now your speaker's on. All right. Thumbs up. We have a unanimous approval of the minutes. That brings us to agenda item number 3, which is a review of the October financials. Information on this item can be found on page 83 of your packet. Chris?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, real quick, is there
Yes.
a way the camera can be on in the meeting? I can't see it. They're all just black screens.
We
Is
will.
there a way I
refer
can see the meeting?
to crew.
Is there a camera that can show the meeting?
I'm sure there is. I will let our technical experts
Stand by.
remedy that problem. Yeah, thank you, Francisco. We'll take care of that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Shall I proceed?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. For the record, Chris Tyler, finance director for the agency. Before I start, a couple of housekeeping things. We've had some concerns from members of the audience that they had trouble seeing the slides and stuff. So we've installed new TVs in here that are much larger.
Oh,
Take particular care not to bang your head against that one that's sticking out from the wall.
caution tape, okay. I think maybe some blinking lights would be appropriate too.
I've been suggesting blinking red lights, but our
Yes.
facilities manager thinks I'm crazy. So.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you were talking about Zoom, and I wanted to mention that Zoom keeps updating its software with additional capabilities. Some of it would be very useful to those members who are participating remotely. But in order to take advantage of them, you have to download the most recent version of the Zoom client for your personal laptop. So I don't know, Cindy, if you want to make that kind of an announcement at the governing board too, to make things easier. Not yet.
Francisco, has the problem been resolved on your end? Hey, you're on mute.
It's really dark. You can't see very well.
Yeah, no, I see that. That's all right. I'm better in dim light.
Wow. Last meeting is chair. It's gonna be a doozy.
Okay, we're going to escalate that to level 2 tech support. See how that happens. Okay, this is a short agenda because of 2 cancellations. We were supposed to have our investment advisor from Principal Group come in, but he had a procedure. So he will be in January. And we will be bringing the procurement policy back for further discussions next month in December. In terms of the financials, next chart, please. Just a quick summary, no major issues or insights at this point. We're a third into the fiscal year. We don't have any major liens against the budget. Our labor is kind of where we expected to be when you factor in, we just did the annual merit review cycle, and we do have a few vacancies that have to be filled yet, including my replacement. But cash wise, we're in very good shape. In terms of planning fees, I always get nervous about planning fees because that's the big variable on the revenue side of our budget. We're still ahead of the 4-year average, as it were. We're a third of the way into the year, and we're exactly a third of the budget in terms of planning revenues. Normally, there is a little degree of seasonality there, but at the same time, talking with Wendy, they're still seeing a lot of applications that we look at as leading indicators. It's land capability and stuff like that, the things you do before you file a permit application. So we're still thinking positively, even with everything that's going on in the market and interest rates, that there's still activity out there waiting to happen. That can change in a moment's notice, but we'll see. And for those of you who are tracking, yesterday was a wild day in the markets. Inflation came in lower than expected, and the stock market went up 500 points, and interest rates came down a little bit and everything. So we'll see what happens going forward. Next chart, please. One of the things I'm trying to do here is make the type bigger so you can actually see the charts. So I've combined and separated some charts. So this one is just on the revenue side, and it shows you what I was just talking about, where we're in pretty good shape. The state revenue is all in. The only remaining state revenue is the TSAC grants that are billed on a as spent basis. And there's $100,000 we expect to be getting from the state for salary merit review. That's working its way through Department of Finance, but we're very optimistic about it at this point. You're starting to see some grant billings on here. We haven't completed the first quarter grant, so that number will get much larger next month as we finish the first quarter grants on those. And like I said, fees for services are tracking along. On this chart, fees for services also includes AIS. And we just completed kind of the end of the boating season, true up with the ramps. So there's some extra revenue in there. And then that'll go quiet until the springtime when we start seeing inspection and decontamination fees rolling in. And there are some residual fees coming in on the shoreline program, but the buoy fees are normally payable in June. So the only thing you see against shoreline at this time of year is people who are late paying their buoy fee. If I can go to the next chart, please. Then on the expenditure side, everything's pretty well tracking a little bit. We do have vacancies. The main ones right now being my replacement, the second attorney position, and a planning position that became open when that person got promoted into a new assignment. So that's what's going on there. As always, our contracts lag. I'm not worried about that. Most of them come in very close to the end of the year, just after. And then on the financing side, we do have our first debt service payment, which is due at the beginning of December. So that's coming up. Next chart, please. And then here's the cash flow with and without the mitigation funds. So far, the mitigation funds, I forgot to put it down my note, we've taken in roughly almost 900,000 of mitigation funds. We've only distributed about 85,000. So the balance in there continues to grow. On the overall cash flow, this is the time of the year where we really peak, and it's all downhill from here through the rest of the year. So the only big influxes of cash we have for the rest of the year are going to be those quarterly grant and billings, and then the monthly planning fees. And that's all I had for monthly financials. If anybody has any questions for me.
Pretty straightforward. So this has to do with governance, obviously. So can we have an update on our efforts to find a suitable replacement for our chief financial officer?
The position announcement has been closed. We've down selected to I think 5 or 6 candidates for first round interviews. There'll be 2 rounds of interviews. The first round interviews are scheduled for the week after Thanksgiving. And then we'll see if we can distill it down further. There's a variety of candidates, some with substantial government experience and some with substantial private industry experience, but who have relocated to the basin and now looking for work here. So we will have a diversity of selection.
Okay, and are they qualified?
Yeah, the ones who made it to the first screen, through the first
Are
screening
deemed to
to the
be
interviews are
qualified.
all
But not as diverse as you.
not as good as I am. of
Not as
course.
good as you. I don't think that goes without saying, Chris. That goes without
But yes,
saying.
we have
Julie,
good
did you have
candidates.
something to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Julie Reagan, TRPA Executive Director. Yes, I think I had mentioned to this committee before, this is such a crucial position on our executive team and with the operations support for this committee as well. We were a little worried. There weren't a lot of qualified candidates at first, but just as in all things, kind of at the very last week of the recruitment, a lot of new resumes came in. So we actually do have a really good crop to look at. So we shall see. We'll go through these couple of screens. Chris and I met yesterday about even, I'm a big believer in practicums as part of interviews. So in the finalist group, we plan to have the candidate prepare a presentation and then deliver it as part of their interview, because we want to make sure that whoever gets the position may be a brilliant financial mind, but if they can't present to the board, to the community, to our staff, to our managers, it's very problematic. So we're putting a lot of time into that recruitment, and we'll bring you an update, and probably we'll be calling on one or more of you to serve on the finalists round of interviews.
So, I was astounded when I read Chris's job description. I mean, it is varied, to say the least. So I'm assuming that we have some arrangement with Chris to have him stay on board long enough to fully indoctrinate, I have to use that word, has kind of a negative connotation, but familiarize whoever is selected to replace him with the
Yeah, Julie and I have
complexities of your
discussed
job,
this.
Chris.
Julie and I have discussed this, and I will be hanging around until February-ish, and if we want to do a consulting contract about beyond that, that's possible.
Good.
Smooth transition.
All right.
Practicum, by the way, is preparing and presenting monthly financials.
Monthly financials related to the,
This governing
Agency.
board presentation. is
okay,
what I
okay,
just-
good. That's great.
So it's
That's
very
great.
relevant.
All right.
in time.
All right, it sounds good. Sounds like you have things well in hand. All right. We'll now go to, if there are no questions by members of the committee, we'll go to public comment on this item. If any member of the public wishes to address the committee on this agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person or by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Who is monitoring for us here? Catherine?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised to comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close public comment. I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion. All right, Maury, will you please call the roll, or Tracy, whoever is in charge?
Got it.
Okay, Maria?
Mr. Aguilar,
Yes.
Mr. Honigman,
Yes.
Ms. Dis,
Yes.
Ms. Lane,
Yes.
Ms. Alding.
Yes,
Madam Chair, that motion passes.
thank you. All right, then we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is a discussion of upcoming topics. Chris?
Again, Chris Kyler, Finance Director for the agency. If I could have the chart, please. The big one in December will be the audit. I believe we're still on track for the presentation of the audit by our audit partner. I will give you a heads up that there is one finding in there. This relates to the TDA funding, and specifically El Dorado County was late in getting their financial statements out on the TDA. We knew they were going to be late. We asked for an extension. We got the extension, but we still didn't get the report from El Dorado County until about 2 days after the extended due date. So they're going to comment on that, and they're going to make a recommendation that we put together a checklist. We never actually got the statements from El Dorado County. We downloaded them from the website, so I'm not sure what was going on there. But next time we'll make sure to check the website the day before it's due instead of it's after. To my knowledge, that's the only finding so far, but they haven't completed their work, and we haven't done our exit interview with the auditors yet. But we are on track for the December board meeting on the audit. Everything else should be fine. The other thing I wanted to bring back in December was further conversation on the procurement policy. So we've taken your suggestions, we're starting to factor those in and come back with a new proposal. Then in January, we will do I told you the principal group investment advisor, Bruce Remington, will be in. He'll be able to explain what, if anything, principal group can figure out about what's going on in the markets these days. I should note, for those of you who don't notice, Moody's is talking about downgrading the U.S. government. So U.S. bonds may switch from AAA to AA. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Okay,
And that's due to deficits and
okay. So
increasing debt. So that's it for me, unless you have any other questions.
any questions for Chris on these upcoming agenda items? Okay, seeing none, I don't see anyone raising their hand online. Thank you, Chris. Again, this was an informational item only. We're now on agenda item number 5, committee member comments. Any member of the committee making comments? Seeing none. Yes, go ahead, Vince.
We'll miss you as our fearless leader.
Oh, well, thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
heard that today. I didn't notice it. I just couldn't imagine it happening, but
Well, all good
There's-
things
we-
must come to an end. you know.
yeah.
There was a request for an arm wrestle over that, and to my knowledge, that has not occurred yet, so
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that this is on the horizon.
Yeah. Thank you for all your work. You've
Oh, you're
done a
welcome.
fantastic
Absolutely.
job.
My pleasure. Appreciate it.
In behalf of staff, we're all going to miss you from the ops committee because you've been great for this committee.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. We're going to miss you. But that's what life is all about, right? Change is unavoidable. Okay, so we'll move on to our final matter of business, which is general public interest comments. If any member of the public wishes to address the committee at this time, please raise your hand now, either in person or by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Catherine, any public comment?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised to comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we will close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right, thank you. And governing board meeting will follow in how many minutes? In 5 minutes. So that